After the final bell rings, the hallways at Lincoln High School empty quickly. Echoes of laughter, the slamming of lockers, and the patter of hurried footsteps fade as students rush out the doors, eager to leave school behind for another day. The fluorescent lights flicker overhead, casting long shadows over rows of lockers, now silent and still. But for Jamie, the day isn't quite over. They linger, waiting for the crowds to disperse. Jamie prefers the quiet, the hush that settles over the school after hours. It's a time when the world feels paused, a brief moment to breathe before heading home. On this particular afternoon, Jamie's plan is simple. Grab their backpack, swap out a few textbooks, and head out. Their locker is at the far end of the east corridor, where the windows overlook the empty football field. The corridor is deserted, save for the faint hum of a vending machine and the soft glow of the setting sun filtering through the glass. Jamie approaches their locker, spinning the combination dial with practiced fingers. The lock clicks, and they tug at the handle. But before the door swings open, a sharp, unmistakable sound echoes from within. A knock. Not a random thump, not the settling of metal, but a distinct, deliberate knock. Jamie freezes, heart thudding. For a moment, they wonder if they imagined it. Maybe it was just the locker next to theirs, or a stray echo bouncing down the hallway. But before they can convince themselves, the knock comes again. 3 rhythmic raps, as though someone, or something, is knocking from the inside. Jamie steps back, eyes wide, scanning the corridor. No one is around. No pranksters hiding nearby. No teachers on patrol. Just Jamie, the locker, and the persistent knocking within. Curiosity wars with apprehension. With slow, cautious movements, Jamie pulls open the locker door. Inside, everything appears normal at first. Textbooks stacked neatly, a lunchbox perched on the top shelf, a jacket hanging from a hook. But as Jamie reaches for their backpack, they notice something odd. Tucked into the far corner, wedged between a math book and a notebook, is a small wooden box. It's not theirs. Jamie doesn't remember putting it there. The box is old, its surface scratched and worn, with strange symbols carved into the lid. Jamie hesitates, glancing around once more. The hallway remains empty. The box seems to pulse with a quiet energy, drawing Jamie's attention. Against their better judgment, Jamie lifts the box from the locker. It feels heavier than it looks, as though it contains something substantial. The knocking has stopped, replaced by a charged silence. With trembling hands, Jamie opens the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, is a brass key. It's ornate, with a twisting handle and a tag attached by a thin piece of string. The tag reads, "For those who seek, the way is open. Knock, and it shall answer." Jamie's mind races. Who put this in their locker? What does it unlock? And why the knocking? As Jamie examines the key, a gust of cold air sweeps down the corridor. The locker door slams shut on its own, making Jamie jump. Then, from somewhere deeper within the locker, impossibly deep for such a narrow space, the knocking resumes. Louder this time, more insistent. Jamie steps back, clutching the key, unsure if they should run or investigate further. Something compels Jamie to stay. The message on the tag circles in their mind. Knock, and it shall answer. With a shaky breath, Jamie turns to the locker, raises their fist and knocks 3 times, matching the rhythm they heard before. At first, nothing happens. Then, with a groan of metal and a shiver of anticipation, the back wall of the locker swings inward, revealing a narrow passageway where none should exist. A tunnel, lined with ancient bricks and flickering candlelight, stretches into the darkness beyond. Jamie's heart pounds with fear and excitement. The world outside, the ordinary world of classes and homework and after-school routines, feels distant now, almost unreal. Clutching the key and steadying their nerves, Jamie steps into the passageway. The air inside is cool and tinged with the scent of old paper and wax. Jamie's footsteps echo on the stone floor as they press forward, guided by the dim light. The tunnel twists and turns, descending deeper beneath the school. Strange symbols, matching those on the box, are etched into the walls, glowing faintly as Jamie passes. At the end of the tunnel stands a heavy, ironclad door. There is no handle, only a keyhole, perfectly shaped to fit the key Jamie found. Heart racing, Jamie slides the key into the lock and twists. The door swings open with a low, resonant creak. Beyond the door lies a chamber, filled with shelves upon shelves of books, artifacts, and mysterious objects. In the center of the room, atop a pedestal, sits an old leather-bound journal. Jamie approaches, drawn by an overwhelming sense of curiosity. The journal's cover is embossed with the same strange symbols. When Jamie opens it, the pages are filled with stories, accounts of other students from decades past, who also heard the knocking, who also found the key, and who also walked this secret path. Each story is different, but they all share a common thread: the search for something more, the urge to explore the unknown, the willingness to knock and see what answers. Jamie realizes, with a mix of awe and trepidation, that they are part of a legacy, one hidden in plain sight, waiting for those brave enough to listen. The knocking wasn't a warning, but an invitation to discover, to question, to unlock mysteries that lie just beneath the surface of the everyday. As Jamie turns the pages, they find a blank section at the end, waiting for a new story to be written. Their story. With a deep breath, Jamie takes up the pen lying next to the journal and begins to write, chronicling their experience, their fears, and their wonder. The chamber, once silent, now feels alive with possibility. Jamie knows that when they return to the ordinary world, things won't be quite the same. The locker that knocked back has opened a door, not just to a hidden room beneath the school, but to a deeper sense of curiosity and courage. As Jamie prepares to leave, they take one last look at the journal, now bearing the first lines of their own adventure. The key remains behind, resting on the pedestal, ready for the next seeker who hears the knocking and dares to answer. Back in the hallway, the world resumes its familiar pace. But Jamie carries with them the memory of the passage, the chamber, and the discovery that sometimes the most extraordinary mysteries lie hidden in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone to listen, to knock, and to step through. On a quiet Monday morning, the halls of Maplewood Middle School hummed with the familiar sounds of students shuffling to class, lockers clanging shut, and teachers calling out greetings. In room 203, the 7th graders filed in, their faces a blend of weekend fatigue and curiosity about the day ahead. They knew by the absence of their regular teacher, Mrs. Dalton, that a substitute would be leading their class. The rumor was she'd fallen ill and wouldn't return until later in the week. When the bell rang, the students settled into their seats, whispering about who the substitute might be, hoping for someone lenient, maybe even someone who would let them watch movies instead of working. At precisely 8 o'clock, the classroom door swung open. In walked a man none of the students recognized. He was tall and thin, dressed in a crisp gray suit and a deep blue tie, his silver hair neatly combed. He carried no briefcase, no bag, just a single leather-bound notebook tucked under his arm. His manner was calm, almost serene, as he regarded the students with a gentle smile. "Good morning, everyone," he said, his voice soft but clear, cutting through the chatter. The students quieted, sensing something unusual in his presence. He introduced himself simply as Mr. Graves, explaining he would be teaching them for the day. There was no roll call, no paperwork, no formalities. He began the lesson immediately, launching into a discussion about literature and the power of storytelling. His words painted vivid pictures, drawing the students into tales of distant lands and forgotten times. He asked probing questions, encouraging each student to share their thoughts, their dreams, their interpretations. Even the shyest among them found themselves speaking up, compelled by the warmth and curiosity in his gaze. The hours passed quickly. Mr. Graves guided them through poetry and prose, weaving in lessons about kindness, understanding, and the beauty of small moments. He told stories that felt both ancient and new, tales about courage and compassion. During lunch, he sat with the students who lingered, listening to their hopes and worries with genuine interest. When the final bell rang, signaling the end of the day, Mr. Graves thanked the class for their attention. He wrote a single line on the board, "Every story matters, including yours," before quietly leaving the room. The students buzzed with excitement, eager to tell their friends about the remarkable substitute. Some described him as wise, others as magical. They wondered if he'd return. But the next morning, when Mrs. Dalton came back, she greeted her class with a puzzled smile. She asked how they'd managed in her absence. The students responded with enthusiasm, recounting the lessons of Mr. Graves, the stories he'd shared, and the kindness he'd shown. Mrs. Dalton's brow furrowed. She checked her notes, asked the office staff, and even called the school district. No substitute teacher had been assigned. No one named Mr. Graves was listed in the substitute registry. The office confirmed that, according to their records, room 203 had been empty all day. Confusion spread. The students insisted that Mr. Graves had been there. His lessons, his stories, his presence had felt undeniably real. Yet there was no evidence, no sign-in sheet, no paperwork, no mention of him anywhere. The line he'd written on the board was gone, erased before Mrs. Dalton arrived. The notebook he'd carried was nowhere to be found. As the days passed, the story of the mysterious substitute rippled through the school. Some dismissed it as a collective dream, a trick of memory, or a prank. Others clung to the details, convinced of what they'd experienced. Teachers debated the incident in hushed tones, while students tried to recall every word, every lesson Mr. Graves had given. Some swore they'd seen him in the hallway, a fleeting glimpse before he vanished around a corner. Yet for those who sat in room 203 that day, the mystery lingered. They remembered the way Mr. Graves had spoken, the way he'd listened, the feeling that something extraordinary had happened. His stories stayed with them, echoing in their minds long after the day was done. One student, Emily, found herself thinking about Mr. Graves late into the night. She remembered a story he told about a traveler who helped strangers on their journeys, leaving behind only kindness and wisdom. Emily wondered if Mr. Graves was that sort of traveler, passing through Maplewood Middle School not as a teacher, but as something else, a guide, a storyteller, a reminder of the magic hidden in everyday life. Others recalled the feeling of belonging, of being seen. For many, Mr. Graves had been more than a substitute. He'd been a catalyst for change. The shy students spoke up more in class. The troubled students found new comfort in sharing their feelings. The stories he'd told seemed to unlock something in each of them, a sense of possibility and hope. The school administration launched an investigation, reviewing security footage and records. They found nothing out of the ordinary, no sign of Mr. Graves entering or leaving, no evidence of his presence. It was as if he'd never existed at all. Yet the students remained steadfast in their account. They described his appearance, his voice, the notebook he carried. Some drew pictures of him, others wrote down the stories he'd shared. In time, the mystery faded from official conversation, becoming a whispered legend among the students. New rumors sprang up. Some claimed Mr. Graves was a ghost. Others said he was a magician or an angel sent to inspire. The truth remained elusive, locked in the memories of those who had sat in room 203. Years later, those students looked back on that day with wonder. Many credited Mr. Graves with sparking a lifelong love of literature, a newfound confidence, or a sense of empathy. They remembered the line he'd written on the board, "Every story matters, including yours," and carried it with them into adulthood. The substitute who wasn't on staff became a symbol at Maplewood Middle School. His story was passed down, embellished, and cherished, a reminder that sometimes the most important lessons come from the most unexpected places, and that even a single day can leave a lasting mark on the heart. The students who had met Mr. Graves knew that, in some mysterious way, they had been changed for the better. In the end, the mystery of Mr. Graves was never solved. There was no record, no explanation, no proof. But for those who experienced his gentle wisdom and unforgettable stories, the truth was simple. Some moments defy explanation, and sometimes the most extraordinary teachers are the ones who appear just when you need them most, only to vanish without a trace, leaving behind only memories, and the quiet certainty that every story, including theirs, truly matters. The clock inched past midnight, and the campus was shrouded in quiet. The halls echoed only with the distant hum of streetlights and the soft rustle of leaves outside, swaying to a gentle breeze. 4 friends, Jamal, Elena, Theo, and Marcus, slipped through the side entrance of the gym, hearts pounding with anticipation. Their sneakers barely whispered as they moved, careful not to attract attention. This was their secret ritual, born from a love of basketball and the thrill of rebellion. Late at night, when the world slept, they claimed the court as their own. Tonight, the air felt different, electric and tense. As they stepped into the cavernous gym, darkness pressed in from all sides. Only the moonlight, filtered through high windows, cast pale beams across the hardwood floor. Jamal led the way, his eyes scanning the shadows, his hands gripping a worn basketball. Elena followed close, her laughter stifled, excitement mingling with nerves. Theo and Marcus brought up the rear, their footsteps blending in rhythm. They reached the edge of the court and paused, senses heightened. The gym was silent, save for a faint sound, a rhythmic thumping, soft but steady, coming from deep within the shadows. It was unmistakable, the bounce of a basketball. Jamal stepped forward, squinting into the gloom. "Is someone here?" he whispered. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness, a silhouette, moving with a fluid grace that defied the hour. The stranger's face was obscured, but the shape of their body and the precision of their movements were clear. Dribbling effortlessly, they glided across the court, weaving between invisible defenders, spinning, pivoting, leaping high and releasing a shot that arced perfectly toward the basket. The ball swished through the net with a satisfying sound, echoing through the empty gym. The friends exchanged glances, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Should they leave? Was this stranger a threat, or simply another soul drawn to the magic of midnight basketball? Jamal stepped closer, curiosity outweighing caution. "Hey," he called out, voice low but steady. "Didn't expect anyone else here." The figure paused, the basketball resting at their hip. For a moment, silence hung between them. Then the stranger spoke, a voice tinged with warmth and a hint of challenge. "This court belongs to everyone who loves the game. Why don't you join me?" Relief washed over the group, mingled with excitement. Elena grinned, tossing her jacket aside. "You're on," she declared, reaching for the ball. The others followed suit, spreading out across the court. The game began in earnest, each pass and shot charged with adrenaline. The stranger's skill was undeniable, light on their feet, quick to anticipate, always in motion. Jamal tried to keep up, matching intensity with intensity, but found himself outmaneuvered. Elena, fearless and agile, slipped past defenders, her laughter ringing out as she scored a layup. Theo, steady and strategic, orchestrated plays, while Marcus powered through with raw determination. As the minutes ticked by, the friends found themselves drawn into something larger than themselves. A connection forged through competition and camaraderie. The stranger, though mysterious, was generous, offering tips, encouragement, and praise after each play. "Nice move," they'd say, or, "You've got the shot, don't hesitate." With each exchange, the stranger's presence became less intimidating and more inspiring. Between breathless sprints and rapid passes, stories began to emerge. The friends shared snippets of their lives, school pressures, family troubles, dreams for the future. The stranger listened, chiming in with tales of their own. Late nights spent in empty gyms, the comfort of basketball during hard times, the way the game had shaped their outlook on life. It became clear that this person was no ordinary player. There was a wisdom in their words, a depth to their experience. As the game wore on, the boundaries between friend and stranger blurred. They moved as a unit, anticipating one another's moves, celebrating each victory, learning from each defeat. The gym, once a place of secrecy and solitude, transformed into an arena of connection, a sanctuary from the outside world. At one point, the stranger paused, gaze drifting toward the moonlit windows. "Basketball at night is different," they mused. "There's something about the silence, the emptiness, that makes you feel like the game is yours alone. But when you share it, it becomes something more." Jamal nodded, understanding dawning. "It's like the world fades away, and all that matters is here now." Elena chimed in. And we get to play just for the joy of it. Theo, ever thoughtful, added, "No pressure, no expectations, just the freedom to be ourselves." Marcus, usually quiet, smiled. "Best game I've played in ages." Time slipped by unnoticed, the night deepening outside. The friends played until exhaustion crept into their limbs and laughter spilled freely. The stranger, tireless, pushed them to their limits, encouraging them to dig deeper, to trust their instincts, to savor the moment. Finally, as the first hints of dawn crept through the windows, the game slowed. The players gathered at center court, breathing hard, faces glowing with sweat and satisfaction. The stranger looked at each of them in turn, a gentle smile on their lips. "Remember this night," they said softly. "The game isn't just about winning. It's about connection, about finding something real in the darkness." With those words, the stranger collected their belongings and drifted toward the exit. The friends watched, curiosity still burning. Who was this person? Where had they come from? Would they ever meet again? As the doors closed behind the stranger, the gym fell silent once more. The friends lingered, reluctant to let the magic end. They knew that, come morning, the world would return to its usual rhythm. Classes, responsibilities, the clamor of daily life. But something had shifted within them. They discovered a new sense of belonging, a deeper appreciation for the game and for one another. Outside, the sky brightened, streaks of pink and gold announcing the arrival of day. The friends stepped out into the cool morning air, their hearts lighter, their spirits renewed. They knew that the midnight basketball game would live on, not just as a memory, but as a reminder that, sometimes, the most extraordinary moments happen when you least expect them, in the company of strangers who become friends. And as they walked home together, laughter echoing in the dawn, they promised to return, to the gym, to the court, to the game that had given them so much. Because in those fleeting hours of darkness, they'd discovered something enduring, the power of connection, the beauty of the unknown, and the magic of playing under the midnight sky. Every town has its secrets, its whispers that drift like autumn leaves down empty streets. In the sleepy community of Marrow's End, there is a grand old building that sits at the heart of the town, a red-bricked middle school with gabled windows and a clock tower that's perpetually 5 minutes slow. By day, it's a hub of laughter and learning, of hurried footsteps and ringing bells. But by night, the school becomes something else entirely. Shadows slip down the halls, and silence settles over the playground outside, interrupted only by the distant bark of a stray dog, or the rare, echoing clang of a loose swing blowing in the wind. But there is one thing that stands out in the night, a single, unwavering phenomenon that draws the attention of anyone daring enough to look. At precisely 3 a.m., the light in the principal's office flickers to life. It's a soft yellow glow, spilling through the frosted glass into the empty corridor, painting elongated shadows on the tiled floor. And though the room is locked from the inside, no one has entered or left since the end of the school day. The light clicks on every night, like clockwork. It began subtly, almost as a rumor. The custodian, Mr. Hargrove, was the first to notice. Coming in early to mop the halls, he'd see the principal's office light gleaming in the darkness, long before dawn had even thought to break. At first, he dismissed it as forgetfulness, a busy principal working late, perhaps returning to check papers or answer emails. But when he tried the door, it was always locked tight. No footprints, no coffee mugs left out, nothing but the faint scent of lemon polish and the tidy orderliness that defined Principal Harrow's domain. Word spread quietly among the staff. Mrs. Boylan, the math teacher, swore she'd seen the light flicker on while she was grading papers late one evening. She peered through the keyhole, expecting to see the silhouette of the principal hunched over her desk. But there was nothing. Just the empty office, the chair pushed in, the desk untouched. She tried the door, locked, as always. Eventually, the students caught wind of the mystery. They spun wild stories in the cafeteria, trading theories like baseball cards. Some claimed it was the ghost of a former teacher, bound to the office by unfinished business. Others insisted it was a secret passage, a hidden tunnel that led somewhere beneath the school. A few even joked that the principal was a vampire, rising each night to organize lesson plans by the pale glow of her desk lamp. But beneath the laughter, a sense of unease began to simmer. The school was old, everyone knew that. There were stories of accidents and tragedies, of names carved into the backs of closet doors, of photographs that faded too quickly. Some of the older faculty remembered a time when the office had belonged to someone else, a stern man with a sharp jaw and a reputation for strict discipline. He'd died in that office, they whispered, slumped over a stack of overdue paperwork, the clock on the wall frozen at 3 a.m. Curiosity has a way of growing, especially in the minds of the young. It wasn't long before a group of students decided to solve the mystery themselves. On a chilly Friday night, 4 friends, Ellie, Max, Jordan, and Priya, slipped out of their homes and met in the shadow of the school's entrance. Their breath clouded in the crisp air, nerves tingling with fear and excitement. They crept around to the back, where the janitor's window was always left slightly ajar. Inside, the school felt different. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of dust and old wood. Their footsteps echoed as they moved silently through the hallways, avoiding the moonlit patches that spilled across the floor. Every clock they passed read 2:47 a.m. They made their way to the principal's office, huddling close as they waited. The door was, as expected, locked from the inside. Ellie pressed her ear to the wood, listening. Nothing but silence, deep and unbroken. Minutes ticked by. The tension grew. Then, as the clock in the tower began to chime 3, the light above the office desk flickered on. It wasn't a sudden burst, but a slow, deliberate awakening, like an eye opening in the darkness. The 4 friends stared, wide-eyed, as the golden glow filled the room. Jordan tried the door. It wouldn't budge. Max knelt to peer through the keyhole, heart pounding in his chest. At first, he saw only the familiar arrangement of the office, the neat desk, the bookshelf, the leather chair. But then, he caught a glimpse of movement, a shadow flickering across the far wall, twisting slowly as if cast by someone just out of sight. Ellie whispered, "What do you see?" Max didn't answer. He was frozen, transfixed by the shifting darkness within that little room. Suddenly, the light blinked out. The corridor was plunged back into darkness, so thick it felt almost solid. The friends stumbled back, adrenaline surging. The silence pressed in around them, heavy and absolute. They fled, racing down the hallways and out into the night, not daring to look back. The next morning, they met in the safety of the sunlit library, voices hushed as they pieced together what they'd seen. None of them could explain the shadow. None could forget the feeling of being watched, of the darkness moving with purpose behind that locked door. They shared their story, but most adults dismissed it as a trick of the light, an overactive imagination fueled by ghost stories and late-night bravado. But the 4 friends knew better. They had seen the truth. The principal's office hid something that awoke every night at 3 a.m. Years passed, and the story faded into the background noise of school life. But the light continued to flicker on, night after night, a silent beacon in the darkness. Those who remembered shivered when they passed the office after hours, quickening their pace, refusing to look too closely at the frosted glass. And so the mystery remained, unanswered, unsolved, a thread woven into the fabric of Marrow's End. The principal's office light, burning at the witching hour, a reminder that some secrets linger in the spaces between night and day, waiting patiently for someone brave enough to seek the truth. Perhaps, one night, someone will finally unlock the door and face whatever waits within the glow. Until then, the light will keep its lonely vigil, shining on in the silence, guarding its secret as the world outside sleeps. Sometimes, the strangest mysteries appear when least expected, in the quiet corners of everyday life, hidden in the things we think we know best. It was a cloudy afternoon when Alex found themselves wandering the halls of their high school, weighed down by the monotony of another uneventful day. The library, usually a place of silent study, beckoned with the promise of hidden treasures. Rows of dusty books and archives lined the shelves, but it was the cabinet tucked away in the back. A cabinet filled with old yearbooks that called out to Alex that day. With idle curiosity, Alex slid open the creaking drawer and began leafing through the faded volumes. The covers bore the marks of decades, each one a time capsule, a frozen glimpse of the students who had walked these halls long before Alex's own first day. Flipping through the yellowed pages, Alex smiled at the changing fashions, the outdated haircuts, the handwritten signatures and inside jokes scribbled in the margins. But then something made Alex stop. Their fingers hovered over a page in a yearbook dated 1978, a yearbook from over 40 years ago. There, among the rows of black and white portraits, was a face that sent a chill down Alex's spine. It was their own face. The hair, the eyes, the unmistakable tilt of the smile. Everything was identical. Below the photograph, a name. Alexander Mason. Alex's own name. For a moment, the world seemed to tilt. How could this be? Alex had been born in 1998, 20 years after this photo had supposedly been taken. The air grew thick in the silent library, and Alex's heart raced with a mixture of fear and fascination. Was this some kind of elaborate prank? A coincidence? Or was there something deeper, something impossible, hiding in the faded pages of the past? Alex closed the yearbook, but the image lingered in their mind. As they left the library, the question followed. Who was the person in the photo? And how could they look so much like Alex? Over the next few days, curiosity became obsession. Alex returned to the library, poring over every yearbook, every photograph, every scrap of information they could find about Alexander Mason. But there was almost nothing. Just that one photo, and a short list of extracurriculars. Debate club, chess team, drama society. No handwritten notes, no stories in the local newspaper, no relatives or friends who could shed light on the mystery. Unable to shake the feeling that the answer was just out of reach, Alex dug deeper. They searched through the town's archives, old newspaper clippings, even the dusty records at City Hall. Each search led to more questions. There was no record of an Alexander Mason ever graduating from the school, no birth certificate, no mention in any public record. It was as if the person in the photo had appeared for a single moment and then vanished from history. As the days passed, Alex's dreams began to change. Each night, they found themselves wandering unfamiliar hallways, surrounded by faces that were both familiar and strange. In these dreams, the school was different, filled with the laughter and music of another era. Sometimes Alex glimpsed their own reflection in the glass, dressed in clothes from the 1970s, their hair styled in a way they'd never worn. And always in the background was the yearbook, open to that same page, the same photo staring back at them. One afternoon, Alex decided to visit the school's basement, where old props and records were stored. The air was thick with dust, and the dim light cast long shadows across the floor. As Alex explored the forgotten corners, they stumbled upon a box labeled Drama Society, 1978. Inside were old scripts, programs, and photographs from school plays. Among them, a cast photo caught Alex's eye. There, in the center, was Alexander Mason, his arms slung around his fellow actors, smiling at the camera. But this time there was something else. Tucked into the corner of the box was a letter, yellowed with age. With trembling hands, Alex opened it. The handwriting was neat, careful, and unmistakably familiar. It was addressed to my future self. The letter spoke of dreams, of the fleeting nature of time, of the hope that someday someone would remember the person in the photo. It talked about the feeling of being out of place, of knowing that you belonged somewhere else, sometime else. And at the end, it contained a single wish, that if anyone ever found the letter, they would not forget the name, or the face, or the dreams of Alexander Mason. As Alex read the words, a strange sense of understanding washed over them. Perhaps the photograph wasn't a coincidence, or a prank, or a trick of the mind. Perhaps, in some strange way, the past and present had collided. Perhaps Alexander Mason had been searching for someone to remember him, to keep his memory alive. Maybe, just maybe, Alex was the answer to that wish. From that day on, Alex carried the yearbook photo and the letter with them. Whenever they felt lost or alone, they would look at the face in the photo and remember that the past is never truly gone. It lingers in the places we least expect, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be remembered. And sometimes, when Alex walked the halls of the school late at night, they would catch a glimpse of a familiar face in the glass, just for a moment, just out of the corner of their eye. A reminder that every life leaves a mark, and that even the forgotten stories can find their way back into the light. In the end, the mystery of the forgotten yearbook photo was never truly solved. But perhaps it didn't need to be. Sometimes the questions are more important than the answers. Sometimes it's enough to know that we are all connected, past and present, memory and dream, face and name, by the stories we leave behind. So the next time you flip through an old yearbook, take a closer look at the faces smiling up from the pages. You never know whose story you might find, or whose story might find you.